First contact. First strike. The Krevalian Empire had conquered 17 worlds across 3 star systems before they set their sights on Earth. They had never failed. They had never needed to try twice. Their strategy was always the same: swift, overwhelming force followed by complete subjugation. The species of the Orion Arm had come to fear the sight of their obsidian-hulled warships appearing in orbit, a harbinger of destruction and enslavement. Dr. Maya Chen stood in the underground control center of the Global Defense Initiative, watching as the long-range sensors picked up the approaching fleet. At 42, she had spent the last 15 years of her life preparing for this exact moment, a moment most of her colleagues had dismissed as paranoid fantasy. "Looks like you were right after all," General Prescott said, his weathered face illuminated by the pulsing red alert on the main screen. 17 objects, moving in formation, decelerating as they approach Mars orbit. Maya nodded, her expression remaining neutral despite the vindication. "Has the Security Council been notified?" "They're assembling now. The President wants you present for the emergency session. Tell them I'll be there. But first, I need to initiate Protocol Lighthouse." The General's eyebrows rose. "That's still experimental. We haven't even briefed the Joint Chiefs on its full capabilities." "It was designed for exactly this scenario," Maya replied, her fingers already dancing across the specialized console. "And we're out of time for committee approvals." Around the world, in secret facilities built under the guise of weather monitoring stations, communication arrays, and research outposts, systems began to activate. Small, inconspicuous satellites that had been dismissed as space debris by even the most advanced tracking systems suddenly powered up, forming an invisible network around Earth. Deep beneath the ocean floors, quantum computers hummed to life, beginning calculations and simulations that would have taken traditional supercomputers centuries to complete. Protocol Lighthouse wasn't just a detection system. It was humanity's hidden ace. 6 hours later, Maya stood in the United Nations Security Council chamber, explaining to the assembled world leaders what they were facing. "The vessels will reach Earth orbit within 48 hours, she said, pointing to the projected trajectory. "Based on their energy signatures and mass, they represent a technological level approximately 200 years ahead of our current capabilities." "Can we communicate with them?" asked the Chinese representative. "We've been broadcasting standard greeting protocols on all frequencies since detection. So far, no response." The Russian president leaned forward. "And our military options?" Maya didn't sugarcoat it. "Conventional weapons would be like throwing stones at a tank. Our nuclear arsenal might damage their smaller vessels, but the energy shields on their capital ships would likely withstand the impact." A heavy silence fell over the room. "Then what do you suggest, Doctor?" the American president asked, voicing what everyone was thinking. "We prepare for contact, but we also prepare for conflict. I've activated a defensive system that may give us an edge, but I need authorization to implement the full protocol." "What defensive system?" several voices asked at once. Maya took a deep breath. "One that I've been developing in secret for the past decade, with funding diverted from various black budget programs. It's called Prometheus." The uproar was immediate. Accusations of treason, of operating without oversight, of endangering global security. Maya waited for the shock to subside before continuing. "I understand your concerns, but right now, Prometheus may be our only hope. It's not a weapon. It's an intelligent system designed to understand and adapt to alien technology." After heated debate, the authorization was granted, not out of trust, but out of desperation. It was the next morning when the alien vessels finally responded to Earth's communications. The message was broadcast simultaneously on every electronic device capable of receiving the signal. "People of Earth, we are the Krevalian Empire. Your world is now under our protection and authority. Resistance is unnecessary and will result in avoidable casualties. Prepare to receive our emissaries in your major population centers. They will explain the terms of your integration into our domain." The translation was perfect, clearly indicating they had been studying human languages and cultures for some time. World leaders scrambled to respond, to buy time, to understand what they were facing. Maya, back in the GDI command center, watched the diplomatic exchanges with growing unease. "They're stalling," she told her team. "These aren't negotiations. They're distractions." Her suspicion was confirmed 6 hours later when, without warning, the Crevalian fleet deployed smaller craft that descended toward Earth's surface. Initial assumptions that these were the promised emissaries were shattered when the first energy weapons fired on Washington, D.C. Similar attacks began worldwide. Paris, Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, Tokyo, all simultaneously targeted by precision strikes that eliminated key government and military installations with surgical accuracy. Global communication networks collapsed under a coordinated cyber attack of unprecedented sophistication. Power grids failed. Military response systems were compromised before they could be deployed. In the chaos of those first hours, as smoke rose from the capitals of Earth and panic spread across continents, few noticed that one network remained functional, a hidden system that had never been connected to the internet, running on quantum encryption that even the Crevalians couldn't crack. Through this channel, Maya's voice reached the surviving military and scientific leaders. "This is Dr. Maya Chen of the Global Defense Initiative. If you're receiving this, then Protocol Lighthouse is operational. The Prometheus system is online. We have limited time, but we are not defenseless. The Crevalians believe they've disabled our ability to coordinate a response that gives us our only advantage. They don't know about Prometheus, and they don't know what it's capable of." She paused, aware that the fate of humanity now rested on a system that had never been tested in real-world conditions. "Phase 1 begins now. May whatever gods you believe in be with us all." Across the planet, in bunkers and fallout shelters, in submarines and remote outposts, those who received the message began to implement the emergency protocols Maya had established years earlier. They didn't fully understand what Prometheus was or how it worked, but they knew it was Earth's last hope. High above the planet, Admiral Krenvac of the Crevalian Empire watched with satisfaction as his forces systematically neutralized Earth's primitive defenses. This conquest was proceeding even more smoothly than anticipated. Their intelligence had indicated that humans were fractious and disorganized, likely to turn on each other in crisis rather than present a unified front. "Status report," he commanded. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Telva, responded promptly. "All primary targets neutralized. Atmospheric deployment proceeding on schedule. Resistance is minimal and uncoordinated. Casualties within acceptable parameters. The population centers are largely intact, as you ordered." Krenvac nodded with approval. The Empire needed slaves, not corpses. "Begin the second wave. Secure the resource centers and preparation for ground forces." "At once, Admiral." Neither of them noticed the small anomalies beginning to appear in their ship's systems. Tiny fluctuations in power distribution, microsecond delays in communications, subtle errors in navigation calculations. Individually, they were too small to trigger alerts. Collectively, they were the first sign that something had infiltrated the most advanced technological empire in this arm of the galaxy. Prometheus had made first contact. Humanity's counterattack. 3 days into the invasion, the Crevalians believed they had won. Their forces controlled the skies, their ground troops were establishing command centers in major cities, and human resistance had been reduced to isolated pockets that posed no strategic threat. Admiral Krenvac prepared to send the victory announcement to the Imperial capital, a formality that would trigger the arrival of the colonization fleet. He did not know that beneath the surface of defeat, a different reality was taking shape. Dr. Maya Chen hadn't designed Prometheus as a conventional weapon system. She understood that any civilization capable of interstellar travel would possess technology far beyond Earth's ability to counter directly. Instead, she had created something entirely different, an adaptive artificial intelligence with one primary directive: learn, evolve, and infiltrate. For 3 days, Prometheus had been quietly spreading through the Crevalian systems, gathering data, analyzing their technology, and identifying vulnerabilities. It moved like a ghost through their networks, undetectable because it operated on principles the aliens had never encountered, a hybrid of quantum computing and neural architecture that mimicked biological evolution. "Is it ready?" Maya asked, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. The GDI facility had been operating on emergency power, its location still secure only because it had been built beneath an abandoned coal mine in Wyoming, far from any strategic target. Dr. Amir Rahman, her chief programmer, nodded. Prometheus has established backdoor access to 94% of their systems. It understands their language, their technology, and their tactical algorithms. It's just waiting for your command. Maya looked at the assembled team. Once 300 of Earth's brightest minds, now reduced to 67 survivors. Then it's time for Phase 2. The signal went out through Lighthouse's secure channel, reaching the hidden resistance cells that had been organizing and waiting. The message was simple: dawn breaks in 1 hour. Around the world, what had appeared to be scattered, disorganized resistance suddenly transformed into a coordinated global response. But not in the way the Crevalians expected. There were no massive military assaults, no desperate charges against superior forces. Instead, the counterattack came in the form of thousands of small, strategic actions that exploited the weaknesses Prometheus had identified. In orbit, Crevalian ships suddenly found their navigational systems malfunctioning, causing collisions between their own vessels. Communication systems began broadcasting contradictory orders. Life support systems in their ground bases cycled between extremes, forcing troops to abandon their positions. Most critically, the quantum encryption that protected their weapons systems was compromised, leaving them unable to target Earth's suddenly coordinated defenders. "What is happening?" Admiral Krenvac demanded as alarms blared across his command center. "Unknown, Admiral," Sub-Commander Telva replied, her usual composure shattered. "We're experiencing system failures across the fleet. Our ground forces report similar issues. Is it a virus? A cyber attack?" "Impossible. Our systems aren't compatible with Earth technology. They couldn't possibly." Her words were cut short as the main screen activated of its own accord. The face that appeared was human. Dr. Maya Chen, looking directly at Krenvac with calm determination. "Admiral Krenvac of the Crevalian Empire," she said, speaking perfect Crevalian, "I am Dr. Maya Chen of Earth. By now you've realized that something is interfering with your invasion. That something is called Prometheus, an artificial intelligence designed specifically to understand and counteract threats like you." Krenvac stared in disbelief. "How are you doing this? How are you in our systems?" "We've been studying the stars for centuries, Admiral. We may not have achieved interstellar travel, but we've been listening, learning, preparing. When we detected the first signs of your advanced scouts 3 years ago, we accelerated those preparations. This was impossible. The Crevalian stealth technology was perfect. They had never been detected before striking. Yet this human spoke as if. "You knew we were coming," he said, realization dawning. Maya nodded. "We did. And while you were studying our military capabilities, our political structures, and our conventional technologies, we were building something you never thought to look for. A defense that doesn't rely on weapons or ships or soldiers." Across Earth, the tide was turning. With their technological advantage neutralized, the Crevalian forces found themselves facing a unified human resistance armed with intimate knowledge of the invaders' capabilities and weaknesses. What had been a one-sided conquest became a desperate struggle for survival. In space, the Crevalian fleet attempted to regroup, to reset their systems, to regain control. But Prometheus was everywhere in their network now, not just interfering but learning, adapting, evolving faster than they could counter. "You have a choice, Admiral," Maya continued. You can continue this invasion and be destroyed, or you can withdraw your forces and return to your empire with an important message. What message? Krenvac asked, his voice barely containing his fury. That Earth is not defenseless, that humanity will not be conquered, and that any future attempts to invade our world will meet the same fate, but without the option of retreat. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Krenvac faced a decision he had never anticipated: surrender or annihilation. The pride of 17 successful conquests warred with the pragmatism that had kept him alive through centuries of imperial service. Why should I believe you would allow us to leave? He finally asked. Because unlike you, we don't seek to conquer. We only wish to exist in peace. Prometheus could disable your life support systems across your entire fleet with a single command. But it won't, unless you force our hand. As if to emphasize her point, the lights on the bridge flickered, and for 3 terrifying seconds, the artificial gravity failed before restoring itself. That is your demonstration and your final warning, Maya said. 12 hours later, the remnants of the Krevalian fleet broke orbit, limping back toward the Empire with a message that would shake the foundations of their expansionist civilization. There was a world in the unfashionable western spiral arm of the galaxy that could not be conquered. On Earth, the cleanup and rebuilding began. The invasion had cost millions of lives and incalculable damage to infrastructure, but humanity had survived, and more importantly, they had won. In the underground GDI facility, Maya stood before the core of Prometheus, the quantum processors humming softly in their supercooled chamber. What happens now? General Prescott asked, standing beside her. Now we rebuild, and we prepare. You think they'll come back? Maya turned to face him. Perhaps not the Krevalians, but the universe is vast, General. I doubt they're the only empire with expansionist tendencies. And Prometheus, after what it did, what it's capable of, there will be questions, concerns. She nodded, understanding the implications. An artificial intelligence that could infiltrate and control the most advanced alien technology humanity had ever encountered was both Earth's greatest defense and potentially its most dangerous creation. Prometheus was designed with one core principle: protect humanity. Not governments, not ideologies, humanity itself. Whatever comes next, that principle remains unchanged. As if in response, the lights in the facility pulsed once, a silent acknowledgement from an intelligence that had transcended its original programming to become something its creator hadn't fully anticipated. Earth had survived its first contact with an interstellar civilization. It had been bloodied but not broken, tested but not conquered. And in the process, humanity had sent a message to the stars. We may not have mastered space travel yet, but underestimate us at your peril. The Krevalians had struck first, but Earth had the last word.